So the first obeisance is I bow down to all high and holy lamas. That's the first entry to the text. Generally before any Buddhist texts, you have to pay homage, prostrate, give your respect towards some kind of fundamental concept, Buddhist concept, like whether it be compassion or wisdom. Here, Tsongkhapa is bowing down to his teacher. His teacher, Tsongkhapa, was one of the most knowledgeable Buddhist teachers. He wrote some 10,000 pages of Buddhist commentary, and he was no slouch. He memorized something like 30 pages a day. He was no slouch as far as intellect. And his teacher, his primary teacher, was Lama Umapa. Lama Umapa was kind of like a country lama, not very well learned. So he's bowing down to his teachers. Why? Because the entry to enlightenment, the entry to the Buddhist path, all revolves around the proper relationship you have with your Buddhist teacher. And this stuff used to always bother me, you know. I'm not the kind of guy to bow down to another man or person or woman or teacher. And then I tell the story all the time. I worked for 4 years in the overnight shift in a Eastern European diner in the East Village. And they put in a new cappuccino machine. Looked like it was from Mars, you know, very advanced technology. Should have had a book with that thing. And I get a bunch of cappuccino orders, and I fail at making of the cappuccinos. I fail multiple cappuccinos all one, and I'm like, somebody's got to give me the proper instruction to activate whatever I have to activate to get this job done. So I actually needed a teaching on the damn cappuccino machine. So I'm like, if I need a teaching on the cappuccino machine, I'm going to need a lot of teaching to get myself out of suffering and get to quote-unquote enlightenment. So that's why Tsongkhapa says in the beginning of this text, I bow down unto all high and holy lamas. Lama in Tibetan means teacher. It's guru in Sanskrit. And here Tsongkhapa is referring to your immediate lineage lamas and your heart lama, or the lama who first introduces you to Buddhism. In a Western sense, it might be any kind of spiritual, you know, if you're a Christian, Jesus, St. Thomas Aquinas, any kind of religious figure that you've, or you know, your local pastor. So anybody who's taught you something that gives you kind of inspiration, that would be your lama. And high and holy has a kind of reference to the different types of capacity of the student. If I'm a person of low capacity, I might just see my lama as just a dude. If I'm a little bit farther along the path, I might see my lama as a saint, high and holy. Then there comes a point where, for you in this life, your lama can be seen as a Buddha. And if you're in the presence of a Buddha, an enlightened person, you better, you better listen to what they say and do it. The whole purpose is to listen to what they say and to put it into practice. The most highest respect you can pay for your lama is to do exactly what they tell you to do and put it into practice, your meditations and all that kind of stuff, and get the result of that religious practice. As far as I'm able, I'll explain the essence of all high teaching of the victors, the path that all the holy sons commend, the entry point for the fortunate seeking freedom. Here he's mentioning the three principal paths, particularly bodhicitta if you're entering the Mahayana vehicle. Bodhicitta is the wish to achieve a Buddha state of omniscience, of totally perfect existence for the benefit of all beings who are suffering, and to teach them and get them out of their suffering. And here the three principal paths are renunciation, Nenjum, Jangsem, which is bodhicitta, and Yang Dakpe Tawa, which is a correct view. Renunciation is a very healthy kind of disgust for the suffering aspects of this existence. Jangsem or bodhicitta is this kind of great compassion, getting to enlightenment to benefit other people. And Yang Dakpe Tawa, or correct view, is correct view into karma and its consequences, emptiness, particularly dependent origination and emptiness. Those are the most important aspects of your correct worldview. Listen with a pure mind, fortunate ones who have no craving for the pleasures of life, and who to make leisure and fortune meaningful, strive to turn their minds to the path which pleases the victors. The fortunate ones means any prospective disciple, any person who wants to get themselves out of suffering, any person interested in Buddhism. It alludes to the three problems of the pot. Leisure and fortune is kind of like you're born with a human body and a human mind, and if you don't have defective human body and human mind, you have the ability to listen to the teachings, contemplate them, meditate on them, and get enlightened. So leisure and fortune is like being born in a country where it's not war-torn, where there are Buddhist teachings available, where you have the time, where you're not laboring 24/7, that you can put these practices, you can practice these practices. That's leisure and fortune. Then there's the 6 images of the Dharma, which is like a prospective student should think of the Dharma as kind of like medicine, as the Buddha is kind of like a doctor, as your condition suffering as a sickness that you want to fix. And the teacher as being, the Buddha as being infallible. My teacher used to say, when we would question the Buddha, he'd be like, why would the Buddha lie? The Buddha suffered through many countless lifetimes, perfected himself through many lifetimes, and then gave his teachings for the betterment of the living. Why would he lie about that? I'm from a Western critical kind of mind, so the Buddha himself also makes statements that say, any of this teaching that I give you, you test it as if you would gold, as if you're buying gold and jewels. You cut it, you burn it to see whether it actually is gold, to test it. So you test all my teachings. Don't respect me just because of the lineage, just because your mommy and daddy told you Buddhism was cool, just because Mrs. Melvin, your first grade teacher, told you that Buddhism has good qualities. You test it through logic and through your own, what's that thing called? Heart. What you know to be right, and your own conscience and your own logic. There's no way to end without pure renunciation, the striving for pleasant results in the ocean of life. It's because of their hankering life as well that beings are fettered. So seek renunciation first. This ocean of life, this ocean of suffering, this is what they call the samsara, in Tibetan kurva, circle of, they call it often circle of life. It is the being born into a life that you will be forced to grow old, suffer and die, and watch everybody that you've ever held dear to you grow old, suffer and die. One of the first teachings of the Buddha, when Lord Buddha taught the first turning of the wheel of Dharma, or teachings, he said that life is suffering, there are causes of suffering, there's an end to suffering, there's a path that I can teach you, the Eightfold Path, to get you out of suffering. When I read that, I was like, at least there's somebody who is not BSing me out in this world. No talk of heavens, although eventually they do talk of some heavens. And actually in Buddhism, the various heavens are a trap in themselves. But Lord Buddha is saying, if you're feeling a little depressed today, you have good reason. Go down to the local cancer ward. You know, go watch your friends grow old and suffer, die. It ain't a party. Being born into this life, being born with impure heaps that are forced to due to impure causes,